Hello guys, welcome to my channel. I'm your Shafi. In this video, we are going to talk about the poem named Indian Reservation-Caughnawaga. It's written by A.M.Klein. Next, we move on to the author introduction. Author full name is Abraham Moses Klein. He was born in 14th February 1909 and died in 20th August 1972. He is a Canadian poet, journalist, novelist, short story writer and lawyer. Let's move on to the introduction of this poem. A.M.Klein Indian Reservation-Caughnawaga explores the tragic loss of indigenous identity, culture and dignity on the Caughnawaga Reserve, contrasting idealized childhood memories of brave, self-sufficient Mohawk warrior with the harsh reality of cultural decay, poverty, and broken promises under colonialism, showing how traditional symbols become museum relics as modern influence lead to disillusionment and a struggle to maintain heritage. In this poem have 7 characters. First one is braves, warrior-like men with faces like autumn fruit depicted in the book illustration admired by the nostalgic child. Second, monosyllabic chief, dignified leader who speaks briefly with his thought. Standing arms akimbo linked to the god Manito. Third, tribes, feathered groups resembling mythic bestiaries evoking Iroquois heritage. Fourth, men. Bronze-skinned warrior now with nobility, expunged, reduced to passivity. Fifth, squaws. Women sitting like black tents under alimentary shawls stripped of identity. Sixth, ragged. Papooses. Children begging for tourist pennies at the church door, beating dust. Seventh, tourist. White visitors scattering coins, embedding poise, prosperity. Check the poem line in description. It is one of the long poem. That's why I will describe a full summary of this poem. Let's start to describe the summary. Poet is renowned for his poems, yet he is a Jewish Canadian writer. He talks about the Indians. He is an insider as a Jewish who suffered in the hands of whites. His poem Indian Reservation-Caughnawaga is about the story of the Indians, which start with the melancholic tone about the fall of an Indian and what happened after he fell. It narrates who is responsible for the fall, which is basically a sense of fear. Through this poem, Klein advocates preservation of traditions. Those who alienate themselves from the traditions are dismissed by him as mere ghosts. Klein depicts the corrosive impact that the Western culture has affected in the Red Indians' traditional lifestyle. The lamenting tone is dramatic with an abrupt beginning to captivate the attention of the reader. It means a sense of loss. Men were of different kinds like warriors and chieftains, wherein brave means warrior, which has two semantic differences, war and brave. It tells us that they are no more brave. The early natives lived in the bond state, having a wasteland. Being colonized, they lost their identity and their mind power. They were not able to express themselves as a son of the soil and were treated like animals to be tamed. The autumn fruit stands for a possession of reap wisdom by Red Indians. The child here refers to the poet himself, who feels nostalgic about the flown away bravery of the Indians. It has two perspectives, the child's and the adults. The child look at the colored frontispiece, which is the front page of the book. It has the picture of the braves and the monosyllabic chief who has dignity and never wasted time in speaking, compared to the Indian god Manito, now for courage. grandeur and greatness which is seen in the colored frontispiece. He is standing arms akimbo, showing his self-esteem, dignity and pride, which is now only an analepsis. The poet is very eager to meet the monosyllabic chief, who spoke briefly in the gruff and guttural voice. He calls the Red Indians affectionately as feathered bestiaries because they with their fur and feathers resemble mythic animals such as chief running deer, black bear and old buffalo. Head feathers in the fable of Aesop, a Persian storyteller. Let's we move on to the second stanza of this poem. Klein records the strong feeling he had nourished for the Red Indians. When he was a child, he wished to escape from the classroom chawl, the varnish smell, and the water dust of the street and pedal to the shore where the chief lived with his follower so that he would enjoy the clean outdoors and the Iroquois track of the Red Indians. He wanted to enter a life of naturality and escape from the problem of reality and go to nature. He mentioned the Iroquois, which was the chief tribes invaded by French. He was very eager to meet the chief with arms akimbo, with his hands on the hip, who he had seen only in the calendar. In the picture of the chef was looking like a mascot or a person bringing good luck. The child did not know that the Red Indians are not existent and are to be seen only in pictures. The chief stands his arm akimbo who awaits. The runaway mascot, which is a symbol of good omen and luck changing. Klein then proceed to describe the degradation of the Red Indian civilization. The Red Indian have given up their traditional lifestyle, being lured by the commercial Western culture. They adopt modern French names. They neither adopt themselves with paints nor wear brands jewels. The Red Indian squaws no longer cover themselves with vegetables outfit which puffed like a tent. The Red Indians nowadays wear overalls. They grow very commercial and degrade themselves by adorning themselves with bedraggled feather and dancing the tradition dance to please a white mayor after receiving a bribe. The children bite the dust of pick up the brown pennies thrown by the tourist at church doors. In later, a drastic change has happened where moccasin, a shoe without heels which protected the feet of Indians and made no sound, is now used by the rubber, which was vulnerable and had a glorious past. Feeling is one way of learning in the lap of nature. He wanted many adventures by taking different paths. There he can see what others have not seen and experienced like the Indians. He says that Indians are dying, what we see now in the remembrance of the chief, living in the world of illusion and experience reality. The change of Western culture is visible in the name we choose and the dress we use. When the name change, the identity also change. Still brave are there by it not with the Indianness, completely changed to Western culture. He says that Indian has become pale, lost his color of health and nobility and vulnerable nature. He is ironic. The women were inside the alimentary shawls, being inactive, who also have lost their identities. Children were playful, but now they have become less worthy. Tourist white man had pleasure in throwing money to these children at the old church door, who had been defeated. Klein laments in the last stanza that the relics of Red Indian civilization have become saleable commodities. He mourned that their past is sold in the shop. The things once used by them, such as a beaded shoes, the wheat grass basket, the burnt wood by which they drew design on their bodies. Quaidi cloths and inch canoes are affordable for sales now. The tradition is lost because of the colonizer. They fell on the ground dust. The old church door symbolizes love, living, and brotherhood, but has become the site of cultural humiliation. Children being transformed to beggar. In the poem The Dying Eagle, men fell internally in his mind spiritually. But here it is visible through tradition. It is the selling of the character of an individual amongst the selling of a tradition. They are made by sale themselves and white men make themselves sold. Exploring Anand can also be done by destroying a land. Man is a cause of exploitation as well as the judge and becomes the top predator in food chain. Justice not denied but dearranged. Nature is shrinking as we are expanding, thereby killing tradition and make momentous out of it, which is an insult to the Indians. The worst was the white men selling Indian tradition. White men scalped Indian tradition and we live with the dead things. We have become savage of civilization. The irony is made to generate the Indians. The last stanza is very pathetic, ironically present the promises made and the betrayal, illusion and realities. The desire of Indian as a grassy ghetto and oxymoron. There is a composition of both freedom and bandage. They were promised freedom but bound in bandage. The entire poem seems to be as about reservation. A ghetto is a synonyms for reservation. Through a positive commotion of the culture, the white man destroyed them and used them. And these are fauna of the museum kept. Fauna is associated with the animal like Indian. The savage is now imprisoned in museum. The irony is that the hunter has now become the hunter. The better hunter have prevailed. The Indian has transformed from a golden position to the civilized poverty and humility. The poet calls the hunting as a game, which is a very significant statement. He says that both are hunters. The Indian hunt for his survival, but the white man hunt for the destruction in one way. Indian lost their blood with empathetically means passion and emotions that makes the ground it cribbed, bleached or the lives. Indian is dead, the becoming the subservient servant of the whites. He has lost his life and lives like a living vegetable. The whites are referred to as prosperous ghosts, an oxymoron which means they are maternally prosperous. In the last part of this poem, the poet concludes by saying that the ruler and the ruled, higher and lower, the rich and the poor are the marginal. He used the metaphor hunting to show their lives. The analogy is that the individual hunt for the sake of survival, wherever whites do it for fun and sport. Indian, for his sake of survival, has lost his identity. In Indian is a dead living, then the white man is a living dead, concludes the poet. The grassy ghetto is no more their home and are preserved as relics in the museum. Hunting occupies no place in their life. The fauna or animal hunted by them at the risk of their life are also kept in the museum with their pale and bleached bodies. They have abandoned their native religion and converted to Christianity. They become pious and prosperous, but Klein reject them as ghosts of their vital original selves, as there is nothing original in them. He says about them, watch as through a mist, appears prosperous course. Next, we move on to the main themes in this poem. First theme is cultural disintegration. Second, colonial power reversal. Third, nostalgia and contrast. Next, we see the conclusion in this poem. The conclusion of Indian reservation-Caughnawaga by A.M.Klein delivers a poignant, ironic indictment of colonial aftermath. Through the final stanzas, imagery of the grassy ghetto where native exist as fauna in a museum. Whites emerge as pure prosperous cows, maternally triumphant yet spiritually hollow, while the game losing its blood symbolizes strained native vitality amid droll reserved hunting. I will hope you understand this poem. Thanks for watching. Subscribe my channel.